The Brand X podcast is sponsored by Audio Editing Solutions. Editing your podcast, just not your thing? Go to audioeditingsolutions.com and see how affordable professional audio editing can be. Welcome to another episode of the Brand X podcast. I'm John.
I'm Deuce.
And we're back to the jocularity. Yes, after the last podcast, it got a little serious, but hopefully we'll just bring the funny. We're going to try to bring the funny anyhow. So how you doing today? How was a happy Father's Day to you?
Happy Father's Day to you. How was it?
Thank you. I was great. You know what? I'm to the point now where it's not a big deal. I went over, the kids made like a cookout. We had hamburgers, hot dogs, chicken on the grill, and potato salad, which is kind of like my favorite summertime thing. And I'll tell you, my daughter, Christina, she is amazing in the way she makes desserts that are unbelievable. She made a brownie cheesecake drizzled with caramel. Holy moly, make you want to smack your mammy. It was that good. It was
that sounds real good.
You know what I like better than fantastic desserts?
I don't know. Enlighten me.
iTunes reviews. We received a iTunes review, actually, from a friend of ours. Well, you haven't met him yet, but you know of his podcast, 3 is Comedy. Jason from 3 is Comedy took the time to go over and go to iTunes and write out a little review, and it says, "This is by far one of my favorite podcasts. Deuce and John have great chemistry. The podcast has engaging and attention-grabbing topics, and the audio quality is top shelf. I look forward to listening to this podcast every week. Keep up the stellar work, fellas. By the way, I think Mindy loves the show even more than I do." So that was Jason from 3 is Comedy. I'm a big fan of 3 is Comedy.
Yeah, I am too. In fact, I was listening on the way back from Maryland on Saturday because I was able to catch their latest podcast 3 times a week. They do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They're probably the hardest working podcasters out there. So
yeah, they are.
That was very nice.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, it's a great podcast. It's if I could describe it, it's kind of like a morning radio show. They have topics and they do different segments. They bring in some music that you never hear on the radio, but it's really good music.
Did you hear the last one?
Which was Friday's podcast?
Fridays.
Because I listened to today's before we...
It was really cool because they switched places, Bob and Mindy. Usually Mindy...
Bob does the jokes and Mindy does the etiquette.
And they switched roles.
Right.
And it was hilarious.
I was really proud of Mindy's jokes. She had some really good, funny jokes. And I'll tell you what, I mean, nothing, Jason's my bro, and I like Bob. I'm a big fan of Bob, but I think they got a little jealous. I think that she brought the funny, and they weren't too happy about it.
I kind of liked when Bob kept saying to call the waiter you bitch. So when you're like in a restaurant and you drop the silverware or something and call him a little bitch, and it was just like, so me and Diane were driving back and we were both like screaming,
laughing, just screaming.
That was the best. Yeah. A long drive, a great podcast goes a long way.
Yeah, it does. And they do, like I said, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Well, again, I've said this before, but my morning routine is on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I get up, I go in the bathroom, I'm taking a shower, I'm brushing my teeth, and I'm listening to 3 is Comedy. So it's like the 4 of us are in there in the bathroom. I'm sure they're not happy about it, but I enjoy it.
Oh, I'm sure they're pleased that they're in there in spirit.
All right, so I have a couple questions to ask you. On the same topic. You don't know about this. I didn't put it in the notes because I didn't want you to be prepared. I want this completely
off. Springing it.
I am springing it on you. Here we go. All right, so you just started listening to podcasts, and basically you started listening to podcasts because of me. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so how many podcasts do you have on your podcast player right now? How many different shows?
Good question. Let me see. I got quite a number of them.
You do? So this is even going to be more interesting than I thought, because I thought you were only going to have a couple. Well, this is great, fantastic.
Not counting hours.
Right.
6.
Okay, so you're listening to 6. Okay, good. How did you find out about the 6?
Well, 2 of them are from you.
Okay.
Well, indirectly, 3 of them are from you. Okay, and
So 3 out of the 6 I told.
The first one is Off in the Weeds.
Okay, so that was mine. So
I don't know if that really counts.
Okay.
But the other 2 are from you.
All right. So which ones are they?
3 is Comedy.
Right.
And Nick DiPaolo.
Okay. So, all right. So that's it. Now you've got 3 other ones on there. Which ones are they?
Okay. 2 of them are basically Corvette related.
There you go. Okay, good. And
there's the Corvette mechanic.
Right.
And then there's Corvette chief. David McClellan was the second Corvette chief engineer, and he has a podcast. Although I think some of them are kind of old. I think he had one at one time because, well, I'm listening to that one.
Okay.
And then the other one is Chuck Woolery's Blunt Force Truth, which is a conservative podcast.
All right. Now, how did you find those 3?
Well, I basically searched for Corvette topics.
Okay.
On, the podcast search feature.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I found out about the Chuck Woolery one from Fox News.
Okay.
He was on doing an interview.
All right, so that's great. So you just started listening to a podcast because one of your dopey friends decided to make a podcast, and you said, "Let me see what this is about." I kind of got you started into the podcasting realm because you know me, and then and you know that I've been saying for years, let's do me and you and I, let's do a podcast. So then I told you about 3.
And prior to that, I mean, everything you're saying is absolutely true.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you've been hounding me for probably about 4 or 5 years, or as long as you've been doing it, that you wanted to do this.
Right.
I didn't have the time a few years ago.
No, I got
also,
that.
I didn't have the tech to do it. I mean, flip phones and podcasts just aren't going to work.
That's true. And I kept telling you, you got to get a smartphone, you got to get an iPhone. And you're like, I do not. I love my flip phone. We would go back and arguments, debates over flip phones and smartphones. So anyhow, what I was trying to get back to is that one of the things about podcasting, which is great, is first of all, it's free, number one. And second of all, it's a form of entertainment. And you get into your car now, and if you're going to go on a long trip, do you look for a radio station or do you pop in a podcast?
Well, a little bit of if there's a podcast available that I haven't listened to yet, I'll go there first.
Right.
Because basically I've got Sirius XM and, it is what it is.
Right.
There's not, if you're on a classic vinyl or you're on a hard metal, it is what it is. That's what you're going to get. Where the podcast is going to be fresh, it's more interesting, and it's going to hit you between the eyes more.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that the reason that people listen and the best way to really kind of find podcasts is word of mouth. In other words, if you find a podcast you like, then, you tell somebody and then they listen to it. And if they like it, they tell somebody and all. And that's what I'm trying to do. So if you're listening to this, tell your friends, say, listen, have you ever heard of podcasting? Show them, help them, become podcast listeners. And I'm going to go through some of now I listen to way more. I listen to like 20 podcasts a week. And because I listen to podcasts about podcasting, I have a lot of friends that have podcasts. I listen to a podcast about the Chicago Cubs, and I'm not even a fan of the Chicago Cubs just because it's a friend of mine that does it. And actually, to be quite honest with you, they're doing so well, and the Phillies are doing so poorly that I'm finding myself checking the Cubs scores more than I find myself checking the Phillies scores. Yeah. Not that I can ever not be a Phillies fan because I grew up here my entire life. So actually what I want to do is right now just give you a couple of podcasts that I listen to that are really, really good podcasts. Not you, yes, you, Deuce, but also the people out there that listen. 3 is Comedy, the ones we talked about with Jason, Mindy, and Bob. Excellent podcast. 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for an hour, and very entertaining.
Absolutely.
Now that I'm older is Shane Smith and Kenny Baldwin. Well, it's Kenny, a.k.a. this, a.k.a. that, a.k.a. whatever. They do a podcast basically kind of like the same thing that we do. They were childhood friends, and they started a podcast. And, Shane talks about his life, his childhood, and then they get on and they talk about some things that happened in their lives and growing up. And they were some hellraisers. So that's a real, I like that one. The Classy Little Podcast, that's Emily and James. They crack open a bottle of wine, cut up some cheese, get some crackers, and they drop the knowledge on different topics every week. One week it was cats. One week it was technology. I mean, just a different topic every week. Always entertaining. Emily's very funny. She drops the puns. James hates the puns, which makes the puns even funnier. So it's a great little podcast to check out. Also, the Popcast. Now, this is Knox McCoy and Jamie Golden. The reason I found this podcast was because back when I was editing for TV Talk, I edited a podcast that Knox was doing with someone else. So then I saw him on social media, said, hey, I started a new podcast. I said, let me check that out. Immediately fell in love with his co-host, Jamie Golden. She is a Southern delight. Funny, smart, quirky, just love her. And that show is basically they have pop culture topics that they talk about and news and information in the pop culture realm. And that's one I have to listen to all the time. The other one, Couple Things Podcast. This is a podcast where two groups of friends that were married, they decided to start a podcast where they bring 4 topics to the table, barroom style, and they just sit down and they say, like, we used to do. Like, someone would come in and say, oh, what would happen if this would happen? And we would just go off on a tangent. We would just give our take on that. So that is one that I love. And then the Unwritable Rant. Now, this one, this podcast is hysterical because it's one woman. She has a Southern kind of drawl, and she's all, y'all, you sit back, and she likes to get a glass of bourbon or some
very
kind of
homey
drink. Yeah. And she's like, I'm going to get a glass of bourbon. I'm going to tell you this story about this. And she is a writer, so she has a great storytelling ability. And she'll come in and she'll tell a story about, like, they went to her and her man. Me and my man went to New Orleans, and I'm just thinking to myself, her in New Orleans is like a party. New Orleans should be named after her, to be quite honest. New Orleans. So, but then she also does interviews. I got to tell you, I kind of like her just talking and telling stories, but then better than the ones where she does interviews because it's, she kind of makes it about the guest. I could care not that I care less about the guest, but I like it better when she goes and tells stories.
She carries the show herself.
I think, yeah, I really do. I say that. So she drinks and she'll say, you know what? I'm going to take a break here and have a sip of this drink, and I'll tell you more about that. And she'll go, oh, that's a good drink. You can tell she really enjoys her bourbon. And a chick that drinks bourbon, that's one serious chick. And I don't mean to call her a chick as derogatory. That is a term of endearment for me. So just saying. So there are some of the ones that I listen to, and they'll be in the show notes. If you just look down at the cover art here and you tap that, there'll be links for every one of those podcasts there. So you can click that and it will take you over there so you can subscribe to them too. So cool. I want to check that out.
There's a lot more that I want to start getting involved with.
Well, what I was going to say with you, when I thought about this today, and I was going to say to you, you're a big Corvette fan. You're a super fan. You're a, may I say, Corvette nut.
Yeah, it's basically, people have told me it's probably the biggest thing that defines me.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, everything's Corvette. I always think
I bought them. I fell in love with them when I was like 5. And I made a goal that I would get one before I turned 30. I achieved that at 27. And I've had 4 of them. I've got 2 now. And they're just a blast to me. And it's an icon. It's not just a car.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it. So what I was going to say to you is that no matter what you're into, so you're into Corvettes and you have a conservative kind of style or lifestyle, and you believe in a conservative I keep wanting to say rhetoric, but I want the conservative. Come on, help me out here. Conservative style.
I believe in fiscal responsibility.
There we go.
And the right to bear arms.
There we
and
go.
Small government. That's basically it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's podcasts out there that you would enjoy. And see, look, you're already finding them. So what happens is if you just you get somebody you just show them, just give them that little spark, they can go off and find some of these fine podcasts too. So just wanted to kind of take care of that. One thing about Father's Day, I don't know about you, I'm sure you're probably the same way, is that, Father's Day is bittersweet for me now because I lost my father 2001. It'll be 15 years this July 9th. My father passed away. So even though I am a father and I get a chance to enjoy my children, I really miss hanging out with my dad because Father's Day for me back in the day when he was still with us was always a great day. We could always kind of hang out, find something to do. He would be, down the shore. So we would go down the shore and either go grab dinner or go fishing or something like that. It was, always a day to kind of hang with him and do something. And so it is kind of bittersweet, as a Father's Day. But I'll tell you, the one thing about it is that, you can't stop the stories, thinking back to the stories and, the things that you used to do. And I remember my father, I was down the river here, the Delaware River, and now the boats are out and everybody's out. And now they're jet skiing. Well, back in our day, we didn't have jet skis. We water skied out there. And my dad would go out with us. See, my father was only 20 years older than me. So when I was 20, I had a boat. He was only 40. He was relatively young. So we would be out there water skiing. He'd say, okay, my turn. But my father, he was bald, and he used to wear a toupee. But he didn't, and I guess he just didn't want to, he didn't want to be like, have a hair one day and be bald one day. So he would always wear, if he wasn't wearing a toupee, he would always wear a hat.
Right.
So we would go out. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go water skiing. Let's go water skiing. So all right. So he gets on the water skis, and he's out there. So he doesn't want to lose his hat. He's afraid that when he falls off, he's going to lose his hat. And you're definitely not going to water ski with a toupee on. So he goes into my tackle box, and he gets two big bobbers, fishing bobbers, that you would put on your line, like if you were fishing.
Yeah.
And he puts them on his hat. Well, here we are. We're out there, and I'm like, okay, it's time to throw Dad off. So I turn a tight turn. He gets on the outside. He makes the first turn. He's doing really well. Second turn, I'm like, he ain't going to make this one. Well, I think it took me 3 turns to shake him. Well, he finally hits the water, and he skips about 3 times, right? And about the second time I see him skip, I see his hat fly off, and I go, oh, there goes the hat. So we're all cheering. We go back, and I look, and there goes my dad. He don't care about the skis. He don't care about my $150 skis. He's swimming for that hat. So he swims over, and he finds that
the
hat.
last hat on earth.
He swims over and grabs the hat. So then I look over, and as we're going back to get him, he's got the hat, and I go, oh, thank God you got that hat. Forget about those skis. He goes, we'll find those skis. So we drag him in a boat, and we go over and we get the skis. But, that was the great thing about my father, was that he would still do everything that we kind of did, and he really wasn't that much older than us. So it was kind of...
Yeah. I remember we were down helping you guys put the dock in.
Oh, the dock.
Yeah, the infamous dock story.
Every summer, every May, right before Memorial Day, we'd have to bring like 4 or 5 people down, and we'd have to get the docks in.
Right. And this one, you guys were having one of those intense debates about how you were going to do Project A and then lead into Project B and everything. And at the time, bright neon colors were very, very in style. The bright orange and the bright green, and specifically in girls' bathing suits. And I remember you guys were having a debate so much, and there's this 2 girls, they're like boating by us, and one of them has got like the bright lime green bikini on, and the other one's got like bright orange. I'm like, yo, I'm trying to get your guys' attention. But you guys were so enmeshed in this argument over who was going to prevail about the way to put this friggin' dock in that you guys totally missed it. And these girls were like total beach babes. You guys just like totally miss it. And later on, they were like, by the time you guys stopped arguing, you looked up, and by then they're like dots, like, well, what happened there? I said, well, I was trying to get your attention, but you guys just wouldn't let up. So I was like, you missed it.
Well, here was the other thing, that if there was a big giant storm where the tides came up, like a nor'easter or something, or like a hurricane, tropical storm, a lot of times the docks would break loose and they would float out into the marshes. So he would go and look and say, and we would go for a dock upgrade. So we would go look and let's see if we could find one. So we look and there's a nice one. Look, let's go get that one. So we would go out there, get close to it, throw a rope around it, drag it over, drag it back to the back to the dock, and then take one of the old docks and drag it up. So now we got a new dock. So we're going to try to drag the old dock up. So we drag the old dock up, the dry land right there. And he's like, oh, I want to lift it up, and I want to get the styrofoam, the things that make them float, the styrofoam pads out. Pontoons, thank you. Out from underneath.
I'm here for you, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So my cousin Greg, he's kind of smaller than me, so he says, all right, let's lift this dock up. I'm like, this thing's heavy. I don't know if we're going to be able to we'll get it up. So, okay. So we start lifting this thing up. Me and my cousin's on one end, he's on the other. We're grunt. Get it about 3/4 of the way up. My dad goes, okay, we're not going to make it. Drop it. And he goes, and me and Greg, we're like, bye. We let it go, right? He goes, on 3. Well, when he said drop it, we bailed, right? Well, that thing grabbed him and drug him to it went down so fast, and he still had his hands on it. And when the thing hit, his face hit the top part of the dock. Oh, and he's got a bloody nose. And what happened was the doc grabbed the ring on his finger, on his ring finger, and cut his finger. And he's yelling, you stupid. He's yelling back and forth, cursing. And I go, you said drop it. He goes, I said on 3. I said, you said it after drop it. Once you say drop it, all bets are off. And you know it. You're wrong. And that was the other thing. Who was wrong? Oh, you're wrong. I said, hey, you said drop it. I dropped it. What do you want from me? I said on 3. Now, if you would have said on 3, drop it, I would have been there with you. But when you say drop it, bye-bye. He's got blood running down his shirt, and he's got his hold of his finger, and we're arguing. And my cousin Greg's going, you two are insane. Absolutely insane.
And that's why you missed the 2 girls in the bikinis and stuff like that. That's exactly how it was.
Missed that man.
That had the smart.
Oh.
Because that's no joke with jewelry.
Absolutely.
Especially rings and things of that nature. They're a definite no-no in an industrial workplace. They tell you take that stuff right off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to lose your finger.
Well, somebody was always usually getting hurt down there. It was either me or him. The one time we were tearing wood off of something, and we had those big, giant, long, galvanized nails. And I'm telling you, they had to be a foot long. And we were driving them into pilings and stuff.
Oh, like the 10 penny nails.
Right. And he stepped on one of them. It got stuck in his foot. But not only did it get went through his shoe and into his foot, but it went into the bone. And we couldn't, and it wouldn't come out. So I'm like, he's like, pull it out. I'm like, okay. And then I go to pull. He goes, ah! I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? Pull. He goes, all right, hold on. On 3, pull. On 3. On 3, pull it out. Okay. 1, 2. No, wait a minute. Wait, don't do it. So I said, okay. So finally, he says, okay, on 3. So I grab it, I yank it. And he goes, ah! And it didn't come out. And he's like, I told you to pull it out. I'm like, I'm trying. So finally, we pull this thing out. And he must have limped for a month when that thing went out. The other good time was.
Well, wait, did he have to get like a tetanus shot or anything?
No, we don't get tetanus shots. You know what? The funny thing was, every time we hurt ourselves so much that we were always good on tetanus shot. Usually, like they would say, he might have just had a tetanus shot with like a month ago. You know what I mean? He might have done something.
You were like in a revolving door of tetanus shots.
Yeah, it's like, let's just give one anyhow. So the other one was the lighting of the grill. The lighting of the grill was on the dock, and it was a propane grill, and the wind would blow through there. It was very hard to light. So I'm trying to light it. So I had the idea one day of I'm going to light it. So I just took a ball of paper, I caught that on fire, and I turned the gas on, and I shut the lid. I said, there you go, that'll do it. So I'm sitting there, and he goes, I thought you were going to light the grill. I said, oh, it's going to light. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I set a piece of paper on fire, and I threw it in there and turned it on. He goes, you can't leave the lid closed. I go, why? With that, I hear. And the lid goes... The lid,
like a jet of flame
in the slow motion, the lid's blown off the thing, and it's doing like a end over end thing, and it hits the water. That's why, you idiot. Now we gotta find it. Find what? The lid. Dad, it's a 20 foot of water. Get the magnet and a rope. What? Sure enough.
So now you're dragging the bag?
We're dragging the bag because I know where it went in. The tide's running here. It should be right around here somewhere. So he's throwing the thing. About 5 tosses, he goes, oh, I got it. Pulled the thing up. So he got it. He actually got it. But that was my father, man. Could never tell.
That's funny as hell.
Oh, he says, you can't do that. Why not? It was almost on cue. It was hysterical.
It was like staged almost.
Oh, it was really funny. Oh, how about the time when he brought that wooden boat because he wanted me to fix it? And
the Big Pig.
And I named it the Big Pig, and he got so mad.
Yeah, you forgot all about the Big
I
Pig
did forget
until about a year ago when I posted the pictures on my Facebook page.
I'm like, oh my God, there's the Big Pig.
Yeah,
He got
just
some-
like I forgot all about it. Yeah, you just blotted that memory right out of your head. That's what you did.
Well,
I remember when me and Don came down there, and we're helping you. We're sanding and we're scraping, and and that was a lot of fun.
Right.
How old was that boat? I mean, it was like what, probably about 30 or 40
I don't know.
years
The
old
guy
at the
gave
time?
it to us. The guy gave it to my father. My dad goes, "Oh, I got a boat for you." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, it's at the dock. Come on down." So I go down, and it was like a 25 or 27 foot old wooden boat. Had one motor in it, and we're in there trying to get it fixed up, trying to get the motor started and all. Finally, I told him, I said, "You know what, Dad? I don't have it. You like working on these wooden boats? I can't stand it. You sweat. The bugs are biting you." I said, "I don't want it. I want a fiberglass boat. I like to ride in them and have fun on them."
Well, not only that, there was if that's what you were in, if that was your vocation, it would have been nice because it didn't cost you anything.
Right.
But me and Don, we're looking at it because everything needed to be done. The galvanized aluminum
Right.
was all pitted and scorched, like the window tracks wouldn't even open. It was just weathered. It had evidently sat outdoors for quite a long time. It was never touched, and it would probably cost you way more money to bring that boat back
Right.
than it was even worth. So the only way it could feasibly happen is if the boat was given to you. But even then, you would be putting way more than you could sell the boat for.
Exactly.
It was it was a good boat to have a Viking funeral on.
Right.
That was about it.
Well, my idea was this was the death of the Big Pig. So I said to my dad, "I'm just going to make it a place where you sleep. All right, I'm going to clear the cabin out. I'm just going to cut an air conditioner in, a 110 air conditioner. And then when we come down, we'll go to the bars and everything. We'll just come back and we'll crash on the Big Pig." He goes, "You're not naming that boat the Big Pig." I said, "I'm naming it. It's my boat, and I'm naming it the Big Pig." "Well, you can't keep it here if you name it the Big Pig." So I said, "Fine." So I went down there like 2 weeks later, and he said, "That's enough of that." And he had it towed away. I don't know where it went. We don't know where the Big Pig ever went. But that was the end of the Big Pig. He didn't want to...
created a reef with it.
Oh, my gosh.
Just sunk the Big Pig. Wow, I didn't know he was so adamantly against the name the Big Pig.
Oh, he hated the name the Big Pig. And I thought to myself, it was the best name. It was the best thing. Who came up with the Big Pig? Was it me? I don't know.
You must have, because I arrived there with Don, and it was the Big Pig then. So you guys named it.
I named it.
Somebody had the name.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Sandy. I don't know.
No, Sandy would never call a boat the Big Pig. But
I don't know.
I know.
I just know I got there and it was the Big Pig.
Yeah, so that's one of the Father Day stories that I miss. And
yeah, there's it's kind of like the same thing. Obviously for us with Genghis has been
I can
gone.
imagine. Yeah,
and his there's just so, like I said previously, that the best stories tend to come from the working in the store with him. Boat stores, his pizzeria, and then the business that we had together. And sometimes a lot of his best material were just like non sequiturs. And they would just come right out. And one time we were in the town that we were doing business in, they were going to try to have a ban on tobacco advertising in the town because some school teacher got her panties in a knot because a kid bought cigarettes illegally. Well, go punish the store that sold the cigarettes. Don't punish me.
right.
So anyway, they had a big council meeting and they had people in there speaking. So, but that wasn't on the agenda yet. They were going through other things, and the judge or the councilman was speaking in there, and there was a kid in there wearing a hat. And they said, in this room, you will respect the process and you will take your hat off. So this kid takes his hat off, and he had some kind of weird punk rock thing going on there. It was like, it looked like mange, like he was shaved on one side and it was long on the other, and it was like dyed purple or something. And of course it's all quiet and everything, and then you hear my father, he might want to put that hat back on. Everybody in the room started to laugh. And the kid's like glowering in our direction. He wasn't sure who said
what,
it.
yeah.
No, what direction it came from. And it was just like, it was just like non sequiturs like that. You just,
Oh, he was.
Because my father had a big booming voice. He really didn't have an inside voice.
No, he didn't.
And my mother used to get so angry. One of the best stories my mom used to love to tell. Finally they decided it's time to get a new mattress. And my father was like, we don't need a new. Yes, we do need a new mattress. So they go out to the mattress store, and the whole way you buy a mattress is kind of stupid. You lay on a bed with no blankets on it, no sheet. Yeah, this feels pretty good. It's dumb. So the salesman is there and said, this will fit you pretty well and everything, because I'm 5'7". My father's, I'm 5'9". That's what I need. And the salesman says, that's the same height I am. I'm 5'9" too. And my father looks at us and says, you're not 5'9", because I'm 5'9". I most certainly am 5'9". So now my father and the mattress salesman are having an argument over who's 5'9". And my mom said they got like nose to nose, and they're like eyeballing each other up. And my mom did say the salesman was shorter than my father. And he's like, yep, see, we're the same height. The hell are you talking about? We're the same height. I'm looking down at your eyebrows. How can we be the same height? So now they're laying on the bed, they're testing it out and everything, and like real louder than anything, my father goes, well, I guess it's time we should test this thing out. And he starts climbing on the bed up toward my mother, and she's like, will you get the hell out of here with that? People are looking at him, because he used to love to embarrass my mother in public. It was his thing.
Oh, well, you just like. I guess that apple didn't fall far from the tree. You embarrassed Diane all the time.
Yeah, well, it's a genetic thing. It's like sort of what we do, She's gotten better. I remember when we first started dating. Remember how easy she was to get mad?
Oh, that and the wise guy. Everything's wise guy.
Well, I'm still wise guy.
Right.
That never. Sometimes there's a breach in etiquette, and she goes right to wise ass.
Oh,
so skipping right over it. Usually there was a procession. It was like my dad used to say, "Hey, wise guy, wise ass, slob." So slob would be like the ultimate. But sometimes I can ring her chimes real well, and she skips right over to wise guy and hits me with the
wise ass. So then you're in trouble.
Yeah, I haven't been a slob in about 20 years.
Oh.
Again, because she's gotten used to it, I guess.
Oh, that's true.
It's like a big old callus now. We got our Heart Attack Grill T-shirt from Larry.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't get a chance to get down there and meet you guys. You guys went over to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
And Larry is to say is a piece of work is an understatement. We met Larry at the. I met Larry shortly after I met you, because he had just started at the college that September.
Right.
So he was already there. I didn't meet you until like a month later.
So you knew Larry before you knew me?
No, I knew you before I knew Larry.
Yeah, right. Because everybody met Larry. Well, me, you and I.
Yeah, the timeline would have been he got there in September when the school year started, but I didn't meet you till October, and then I started hanging out at the station.
Right.
So
and he come in and he was like small in stature, but because the reason, and I don't, me, I don't know anything about anybody. I come in, I see this guy come in, he's like a little dude, right? So he's a little dude, and his lips were always blue, and I thought he was like wearing blue lipstick. So the one day he's in there and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, "What are you, cold?" I said, "Your lips are blue," and he goes, "Now I have a heart condition," and I'm like, "Heart condition? What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Yeah, I was only supposed to live until I was how old?" He was only
9 months.
9 months.
Yeah, and talk about beating the odds.
Yeah, how old is he now? He's in his 40s.
He's in his 40s.
Right.
Well, let's see.
He's probably almost 50.
No, he's not that old. Hold on, I'll break it down for you in a second.
But he wanted to be in radio, and he has a unique voice.
Yeah. Larry's 45 or so.
Really?
So, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, sure he would be. I'm 51.
Okay. All right. I just didn't think he was. I thought he was a little older than that.
Yeah, so we're all getting older. Well, you're right. Larry has a very distinct voice. Larry kind of talks like Squidward.
That's it.
And
That's it.
The funny thing of it was Larry worked for me at my store. And we used to imitate Larry because he would always he couldn't just tell you the story. There was this build up.
Right.
And he would say, here's the thing. I was walking around, and so we used to imitate him, me and Steve, and everyone that was hanging out, all the regulars with him. We would all talk like that. Well, I didn't even know who SpongeBob was at the time. So this one customer came in, and he heard us talking like that, And he says, wow, that's pretty good. You sound just like Squidward. And I'm like, what? What the hell are you talking about? Because my son wasn't old enough to like discover cartoons yet.
Right.
So, or Squidward anyway. And he said, oh yeah, SpongeBob SquarePants. Now it's like this guy speaking French. I'm like, what are you talking about? Nah, you ever see that cartoon? Well, then I watched it, and then it got totally like funny, because then it was like, now I understand what the guy was talking about, because you see this character Squidward, and that was pretty much how Larry talks. The best was when he was working at the store. Did you ever see Larry sweep a floor?
No.
Me and Larry were talking about this when he gave us the shirt.
No.
It was like Rain Man, all slow and dopey, and like he's like standing there with both hands on the broom, like he's sweeping the planet Jupiter. Like he's barely moving. It's like the gravitational pull is just pulling him down. And Larry, do me a favor. Don't ever sweep the floor like that around my father. Why? How come? Because my father will lose his mind, and he'll like rip the broom right out of your hands.
Give me that.
Yeah. And it's just like, so, you know, I don't know, really? Yeah, trust me. Don't sweep the floor like that. Put a little effort into it, okay? So about a week and a half later, me and Genghis are working. By the way, I like that it said, let me go out and sweep the floor. Oh, that reminds me. Did you ever see Larry sweep the floor? I was like, Larry, what the hell's wrong? Give me that goddamn broom. And like my father took the broom off him and he swept the floor.
Right, because you feel bad for him.
The best story was after that was like, now my father would sweep the floor and like, all right, Larry, we would empty all the trash bags. All right, give me a trash bag, and Larry would just hand him the trash bag. So this went on for like months. And he said, Larry, not for nothing. How come you don't tie the trash bag for me? You just hand it to me.
Well, I don't know how.
What? You gotta be shitting me. You don't know how to tie a trash bag. How the hell do you tie your shoes? So the next week goes by, and my father says, Larry, hand me that trash bag. And like Larry hands him the trash bag, goes, hey, I tied it for you this time. My father goes, oh, you're a big boy now.
Oh man!
But that voice was like so distinct.
Now that you said, it was so funny. I never put the two and two together until you just said that. But he is absolutely Squidward.
Yeah, Squidward.
He could actually do that. He could go take over and do that voice.
I one time, and we had this mother and daughter that used to come in and buy scratch off instant lottery tickets all the time. So I'm in the office and Larry's waiting on them, and give me 2 of those double your luck.
Here you go.
Those weren't winners. Give me 2 more of those double your lucks.
All right.
Give me another one. So this is going on and on. And finally I hear Grace say, I just bought 11 of those tickets in a row and not one was a winner.
It sucks to be you.
I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that. It's just like, so I had to like go out there and referee that. I mean, nothing came of it and everything because they kind of knew how he was. But I was like, my heart just like jumped into my mouth. I was like, I can't believe he just said that.
Well, he was an intern over at a major radio station in Philadelphia. And
right. He was on the show. He was a producer.
Yeah, he was a producer, right? Well, he was on the show. I guess it was back when Howard Stern was doing his gig, and everybody was trying to be Howard Stern. So what they would do is they would make fun of the producer, like Howard would make fun of Gary Delabate, Baba Booey. Right. So now in Philadelphia, this jackwad's going to make fun of Larry, and that's like to the point where I'm like, hey, you can't make fun of Larry. We're the only ones allowed to make fun of Larry. So I think I forget how we even. I talked to him or I said, hey, just don't let them dipshits make fun of you like that. It's not even, it's not funny, or it's not even funny. I mean, they're making fun of you. I mean, they're not even laughing with you. You're like the butt of their jokes. But then I guess that morning show went down in flames.
No, well, what happened was they kind of boned Larry.
It seems like
what had happened was he was getting paid a pretty decent salary.
Right.
I'm going to throw a number out there. I'm going to say he was getting paid like $22 an hour. He was doing all right, and this is going back 16, 17 years ago.
Right.
And they said to him, well, it's not in the budget anymore. We really can't afford to pay you that. So, we'll pay you like $13 an hour. And I think they did that thinking he would quit.
Right.
And he didn't. Yeah, so it's just like, well, yeah, he was working for me part-time. Yeah, it was like a perfect gig for him because that was a morning show, so he would go in at like 4 or 5 in the morning, do that, and then come home at noon, and then he would come and work for me like at 5 o'clock to I'd close at 8 o'clock. And he only worked like 2 or 3 nights a week, so... And he lived with his mom still, so, it wasn't like it was going to crush him.
Right.
So I think that's what it was. They didn't dream that this guy would any sane person would like leave after a $10 an hour pay cut. And Larry was like, well, what am I going to do? I need a job. They were like, so then finally, I think eventually, the math didn't make sense to him. I think he hung in there for like another month and then he just basically packed it in. And then at that time, I was making overtures to sell my store. So I said, well, I'll just work for you full time. And I was like, well, then I had to like confess to him, like, Larry, I appreciate the sentiment, but there's no future here. I got the store up for sale. Because by then, the whole business model had changed. And,
right.
I had to get out. But, oh, yeah, I always used to say, like, when they say your life flashes before your eyes when you die, however long that takes, let's say it's 20 seconds, Larry's going to be about 18 seconds of it. So it's just like, it's just like, there's your dad, and here's 18 consecutive seconds of Larry, and you helping Larry out, everything's, it's like, that's what it's going to be like.
Like the time where he was, everybody screws Larry. He goes to, he's a DJ for one of the other DJs at the college radio station, starts a mobile DJ thing where he goes to bowling alleys and so Larry.
Dance clubs. Yeah.
So Larry goes and he's working for him. So the guy wouldn't, and I never liked this guy. His name was Presley. I never liked this guy. I couldn't stand him. So, because he was a get-over. He was. The guy was a get-over from the day one. From jump, he was a scumbag. So, may he rest in peace. So anyhow.
Oh, is that true?
I don't know. I heard he's dead. I don't know. Anyhow.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Listen, I don't care enough to even look it up.
Wondered.
I don't even care enough to look it up. So I get a phone call, and it's you.
Right.
And you say, yeah, I need some muscle. I'm like, oh, okay, what? Larry isn't getting paid. Larry took all Presley's.
I had told him, I said, Larry, if he's not paying you, just don't give him his CDs back. Then he can't work. And he owed Larry $60 is what it was.
Right.
Which,
back then, was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Larry took his CDs, and Presley's supposed to come down and give him money, but, I want some backup. Say no more. Jump in the car, drive over to the bowling alley, and there they are. So here comes Presley. I want my CDs. Larry's like, I want my money. I'll give you your money, but I need my CDs. You're not getting the CDs without the money. So now, did this guy bring muscle? I think.
Yeah, what had happened, I said, listen, this guy, there's going to be a trade-off, but we know how this guy is. I don't think he's going to give Larry the money. So, and I know how Presley is. He'll probably show up with somebody to intimidate Larry. And that's exactly what had happened. So me and Larry are talking to him and his goon. They have no idea that you were there. And then when things were just about to get very, very heated, just like the cavalry, John comes like just strolling up, but you could have heard a pin drop when they got a load of you just showing up, because now the tables are turned. Because now Larry's not even the issue. Now they both know they got to fight you and me.
Right.
And they knew an ass kicking was coming, I think.
So I think I just said, don't pay him. You're not getting the CDs. You're not getting the CDs until you pay him his money. And then they had to meet. He didn't have the money. He didn't have the $60 on him.
Right. He had no intention to show. I think Larry, as a gesture of good faith, gave him his mic back, because Larry had his equipment.
Oh yeah,
had his CDs. He did get paid eventually, but that's what he had to do with this guy. By the way, thanks a lot for showing up and helping out. It's 20 years after the fact.
He needed to get bigger muscle, because I'd have dropped him like a bad habit.
That was just it, because we all know Larry's condition. He wasn't going to be able to fight.
Right. Presley?
And they knew that too.
All right, Presley, give him the money. I don't have the money. Got it now? No. How about now?
Remember one of the appearances we made at the Lewis School, at the dances.
Yeah.
You broke into his office.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you didn't break it. You had a key. You keyed into his office.
Right.
And you took all the promotional stuff that he was hoarding.
Right. That he was stealing from himself.
Right. And you were throwing that stuff out to those kids like Johnny Appleseed. It was just like, and those kids went crazy for it. It was like CDs, albums, posters. It was awesome. That was a great night.
All right. Who broke into my office and took all the stuff that I was stealing?
How dare you steal my stuff that I stole?
Oh, my God. 2 years of just story after story after story.
It's just, they never end.
I know. I used to call him the burnt meatball.
Yeah. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. But anyway, we kind of got off. But big thanks to Larry for bringing our Heart Attack Grill
T-shirts, yeah.
T-shirts direct from Vegas.
Yeah, can't wait to get.
I got to get you. What do you want to do? Like,
we'll figure.
Eat cheesesteaks for 5 hours again, and I'll give you yours?
Yeah, we should do that. We should definitely do that. And I guess if it was like a real radio station, I probably would have got fired for racist comments because you can't call somebody.
You think?
Can't call somebody a burnt meatball. And Fox Sidelines reporter fired after racist comments on video. Fox Sport has cut loose ties with sideline reporter Emily Austin. I guess it's
so it's Fox Sports.
Right,
okay.
Austen. The Rays and Magic reporter did a video with Barstool Sports, a website known for its blunt takes, and made racist comments regarding multiple people. At the 24.25 point in the video, the crew talks about a Texas valedictorian who received a lot of backlash for saying she was an undocumented alien. And I actually have the clips, so she actually said this.
Right on that one.
No, I did agree with you that I think that it would be a bouncer or somebody that he may have known. But with the whole girl, like, I didn't even know Mexicans were that smart. Is that?
That's Trump Jr. over here.
No, and I'm
nice
not even.
blonde,
I know
eyes.
that's fucked up. I didn't mean it like that, but
Wow.
you see, like, I mean, you guys know that the Chinese guy is always the smartest guy in math class.
No, that's a good point.
I like that.
So
You get yourself out with another stereotype. I like the way you're going.
Okay, I'm not trying to be okay, everybody thinks that. I love black. I love all people. I don't care if you're white, yellow, brown, purple.
Jews kind of
Yellow.
little stingy.
yeah, Jews are a little bit.
Well, he mentioned Jews, and she said she had a story about that.
Okay.
They hold on to their pennies.
Yeah, I went to school in Boca, so I know most of that. Like, the way I used to talk to the Jews in Boca, they hate it because I was a server, and I just didn't care, and they would complain and bitch about everything. I gave a guy, like, delivered his beer, and he was complaining to me that there was too much head, and I knew that he was a stingy asshole, and he wasn't going to give me a tip, so I go, sir, you're the first guy that's ever complained to me about too much head. So
Did that win him over?
no, I think that I got fired like 2 weeks later.
KFC, what do you got on this?
I like where all that went.
So anyhow, they were the two statements that they heard. Now,
Is that video that you were watching, or is that just the audio?
that was the audio of the video. So it was the four guys sitting on a couch with microphones. I guess they're doing a podcast.
Okay, because I heard her use the F word. So.
Yeah, so you're not going to use that on Fox Sports. So she was like doing a Barstool rundown. I guess that's what it was called. I guess that's the name of its podcast that they do. I'll have to go back and look. Now, she's fired. So, of course, I go to the Twitter, and her last tweet, she hasn't tweeted in a while.
So she's laying low like a cat that shit on the rug.
That's right. I made a terrible mistake. I was in an environment where I was trying to be funny and make a joke, and my comments were insensitive. You can trust this was absolutely not my intention. Anyone who knows me knows that is not how I truly feel. I will continue to work hard to prove myself and make things right. I know I have some growing to do. I sincerely apologize. Something like this will never happen again. Okay, so here's my point. What she said, was it that big of a deal?
Yeah, she definitely was a little out of line by saying about not knowing that Mexicans can be that smart.
We're making a joke, right? So what happened? It offended a few people?
Right.
All right, so I kind of go...
When did sticks and stones may break my bones stop being relevant?
When did that happen? When was that such a big deal?
Well, quite a while ago. I mean, this is...
Everybody wants to be offended now.
Well, so what? Be offended. Nothing happens.
What happens when you're offended?
No, nothing changes. You just lose your job more.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is if she offended somebody, what did that actually do to that person? That's what I'm wondering. Is it a big deal now that we make a joke and then everybody's like, oh, I was offended?
I was offended and I have rights.
Is that just that piece of tape that you've played? That's all we've got. I mean, I don't know what was said leading up to that. So
well, they were just talking about a valedictorian who said that, hey, the system works. I'm an undocumented resident here. In other words, I'm
yeah. I remember reading the article.
So
there must have been some kind of banter going back and forth with the 4 other guys.
Right.
However,
yes.
So it's like she's kind of like, I don't know, maybe she was just trying to one up them to be funny, like she said. And
Yes.
It's just,
she was making a joke.
Right.
I mean, is it that big of a deal?
Well, everything's a big deal now.
It shouldn't be. That's what I'm trying to say.
You're an adult. Grow up. Deal with it.
If you ever want to see how far we've fallen, and I do this a lot.
I tried it today. You know what I did today? As I was getting ready for this story, I went back and I started listening to Don Rickles.
I was just going to say that if you go on YouTube and look at old Johnny Carson clips from the 60s and 70s, the Dean Martin celebrity roasts, and the jokes that they told.
Oh my!
Everybody laughed and nobody got mad.
Nobody.
It was great.
Yes. So basically, you want to be in a country that's free, have free speech, but you're not free to speak without losing your job. All right. So I understand speech is free, but it also comes with consequences. I mean, it's the difference between hate speech and kind of making a joke. In other words, she was making a joke. Was it insensitive? All right, whatever. It's a stereotype. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little quiz. I'm going to yell out a nationality and tell me the stereotypes that comes to your mind. Oh, you know what? Why don't you do it that way? Do it so you don't get in trouble. I'll take the bull on this one.
What are you talking? No, go ahead. I'm game.
All right. So if I said Polish.
Well, that goes hand in hand with Italians, so it'd be stupid.
Okay. Stupid, right? All right.
They do things backwards. They don't understand things.
Jewish.
Thrifty.
Thrifty. Look at you being politically correct.
Mo Howard was notorious for being thrifty.
Okay, there you go.
Not cheap, thrifty.
Right. Here we go. Here's the big one. Black.
Well, there's just so many there that people depends on. Not that. Well, one is always stupid.
Yeah. So there's.
But then, of course, food that they like to eat. There's always the water.
Oh, the fried chicken.
There's always the ribs. There's always the chicken.
Hey, listen. I like
grape
them too.
Soda.
I'll tell you what. I'm right there with the watermelon, the fried chicken, and the
right.
ribs.
I mean, that makes a lot of people black if that's the criteria.
That's
because
true.
I know a lot of people that eat that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I hear you. So I guess to me, it's like I feel for this woman because she really didn't do anything wrong. She's doing a podcast. She's trying to be entertaining, and something. She makes a small mistake, and then all of a sudden, Fox Sports, because they got to call on their advertisers, are becoming. It might hurt their brand or something. They just kick her.
Well, that's exactly what happens. They go after the advertisers.
Right.
And then the advertisers start pulling out, and then you're stuck.
Right.
Only for, but that never seems to happen to
But I mean, anybody and everybody at any time can be offended.
I want to live in democracy, but I never want to be offended again. Well, you're an idiot.
Right?
Everybody wants their safe space now.
Right. Everybody, yeah.
How do you make a law about offending people? How do you make it an offense to offend people? Being offended is subjective. That has everything to do with you as an individual or a collective or a group or a society or a community, your moral conditioning, your religious beliefs. What offends me may not offend you. And you want to make laws about this?
I mean, how do you do that? And like I say, if you get offended, it's not like anything happened to you. It's not a disease. Nothing happens to you if you get offended.
Well, this kind of touches back on when we did the bullying segment. You just had to learn how to deal with that stuff and address it.
Just let it roll off your back.
You let it roll off your back because if people saw that was going to get to you, they were going to turn up the heat.
Right. I mean, it's not like
Nothing happens when you're offended. There's nothing. I went to the comedy show and the comedian said something about the Lord and I was offended. And when I woke up in the morning, I had leprosy.
that doesn't happen.
That's funny,
Right? It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, strangely, that didn't happen to me.
Right. And I wish I pulled the clips from the comedian's name is Steve. Now I got to look it up. Excuse me 1 second.
John's crack research team is busily Googling up the...
I'm just going to go to history. History.
Open that window. Dun, 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 dun,
Sometimes when you look at your history, you're like, oh my God, I need a life. Open up your YouTube history and see what you look at. Okay, so the comedian's name is Steve Hughes, and he is an excellent stand-up, and he does a bit.
Okay, yeah, I know who he is.
Right, does an excellent stand-up. So I'm looking at my YouTube history. So it's Don Rickles roast Dean Martin. Don Rickles at his best of Don Rickles. Steve Hughes, giant zit popped. See, that's one of the things I love about YouTube.
Well, if you ever want to go on a diet, just watch a few of those.
Oh, I'm telling you what, I could eat a hoagie while watching it. I don't.
I mean, you are a better man than I, because I will throw my guts up.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
We were at work one day in the break room, and I don't know what these deviants that I work with, they just felt compelled to watch lanced boils and zit popping, and are just like, what are you guys doing?
Oh, it's
like,
the best. I get mad like when they shake the camera and they don't have the camera in the right angle, or they.
So you're critiquing the filming technique.
I am critiquing the filming. Yes.
I want to be as far away from that as possible, and you're critiquing their technique.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's just something about it. It sucks me right in. It's hysterical.
I wince when I see things that are like gross me out like that.
Hey, it doesn't gross me out.
Oh, I have a pretty strong stomach, but that grosses me out.
I know. When I told you about the Popcast earlier, the one girl, Jamie, she likes to look at celebrity autopsy photos. Like that's
really?
Yeah. And I thought to myself, that's strange. And then I thought to myself, well, you watch videos
zit
of
popping festivals
and lancing. There is a woman who was on that show Doctors, and she's known as the Dr. Pimple Popper. And she has a whole YouTube channel.
Oh, is she a dermatologist?
Yeah. She takes
she would have to be.
Right. That's Dr. Sandra Lee, a.k.a. Dr. Pimple Popper. So you can go on there. I guess I got to put a link to the show notes.
Is it?
I'll have to put a link in the show notes for this.
Yeah. Man, well, I'll give that a miss.
You don't like that?
I don't want to see that. Yeah, the sign of the apocalypse is all around us. Let me turn on my computer. What should I look at? Should I look at Milton's Lost, Paradise Lost, or Beowulf? No, I'm going to look at Zit.
Oh, you know something? I would love to pull up your YouTube video history right now and see what that is.
You want to know what's on there?
Yeah.
I'll tell you exactly what's on there.
Okay.
Superhero videos and rock music videos.
That's it?
That's what I do. Every once in a while, something entertaining or,
Yeah.
Basically, just fluff, basically. I don't look at anything disgusting, like zit popping. What the hell's wrong with you?
What the hell's wrong with you?
How do you make a law about offending people? How do you make it an offense to offend people? Being offended is subjective.
It's subjective.
It has everything to do with you as an individual or a collective or a group or a society or a community, your moral conditioning, your religious beliefs. What offends me may not offend you. And you want to make laws about this?
That's right. See? So that's what I'm saying. Everything's subjective. What I like, you don't. That's why they make chocolate and vanilla.
Let me see. Let me look at my history here. I got 3 or 4 George Carlin comedic bits from his past. I've got Superman versus Captain Marvel versus Black Adam. I know you're just going to be riveted about that.
Right. See, that's, again, I'm not a big comic book superhero guy.
Right. How It Should Have Ended. That's
that offends me, but I'm just not a fan.
There's a website called How It Should Have Ended. I don't know if you ever seen it.
I know.
You ever saw
No, I haven't. But I can imagine that's a big thing because, like a lot of people, they're into fan fiction. So, in other words, like the show Castle.
Well, How It Should Have Ended, what it is, it's the animators and they take popular movies and they'll say, this is how it really would have happened, and they put funny twists on it. It's pretty funny.
Okay.
I mean, and they do all kinds of movies. They do Jaws, Star Wars, Godfather, whatever.
Well, I think the thing nowadays is it's very hard to hold people's attention because we're all conditioned for something to last like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Like if you see a video that's 7 minutes long, you're like, 7 minutes?
People zone right out.
Yeah. So everything has to be done fast. You have to pack it all in. You have to edit. Everything's a tweet now.
One time recently, I was so bored. I don't know if you ever saw or read the book Lord of the Flies.
No.
Maybe in high school you did.
No.
It's a classic. It's one of the top 100 literature pieces of the 20th century, but you were watching Zit Popping.
That's right.
But it was broken down. It's like an hour and a half movie.
I was offended by that.
Down in like 11-minute sections, and I watched the whole movie on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Just to do that. Yeah, but like I said, I have that attention span.
You can do that. See, I mean, again,
you zone out.
I zone out. Like sometimes if I'm looking at clips, I'm like, how long is this? And one of the other things I'll do is I'll go in and I'll start watching it, and if it looks like if it holds my attention, I hang in there. If it doesn't, I just click off.
Yeah. Well, there's sometimes I'll be watching whatever, and it starts off great, and then you're like 3 minutes in, it starts going off the rails. And yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm out of here. And I bail. I've bailed on videos. I'm not.
It's not like
I don't watch them all to the end.
Right.
I mean, Christ, I do have to have interest too.
No, I get you. I hear you. Hey, Deuce, you know what happened? Jane Goodall says the zoo had no choice but to kill Harambe the gorilla.
Duh.
So she came out publicly, said that, and she's one of the foremost
Anthropologist?
something like that. She knows a lot about gorillas. And she said, after looking at it, she says that Harambe, the 17-year-old Western lowland gorilla, was shot dead. And she says, really, the zoo had no choice because the 3-year-old boy who fell into the enclosure was in danger. It was awful for the parents, the child, Harambe, of course, and the zoo, and to the public. But when people come into contact with wild animals, life and death decisions have to be made, and they have to be made quickly. She said a tranquilizer dart would take too long, and basically that wouldn't work. So that was about the only thing that they could do, and it's a shame. But, we've talked about this before, and I'll tell you what, it still rears its ugly head.
It's very rare that a story comes along where there was no winner anywhere.
No.
The zoo lost, the parents lost, the representatives of the zoo making the decision, they lost. Harambe, obviously, he lost. There were losers all around. There was just...
Yeah, there was nothing they could do. It was a bad...
Yeah, it was a bad car. Let me try that again.
Oh my God! He made a mistake.
Laugh at me. Yeah, it was just a bad set of cards were dealt out.
Yeah, he got a bad hand.
Yeah,
He had it shoved right up his ass.
There was bad hands all around there.
Yeah, but he got the worst one.
Yeah, well, but the kid, like you said, we can't underscore it enough. That kid is safe and alive.
That's right.
Yeah, they had no choice. They had to do that. Mm-hmm. And hopefully that brings a closure to the soon-to-be stuffed Harambe with the TV monitor in his stomach.
I don't know. I think, I think it's probably going to be over until someone else has to shoot an animal.
Well, until there's another incident at a zoo,
Right.
because then we had the Disney World thing, and we didn't even touch on that.
Well, I mean, again, you are in Florida, but you're in Disney World. You would think that, when you take your kids there, like the zoo, that it's not dangerous. But then again, it's so big and there's so many lakes there, and these gorillas, these alligators go from lake to lake.
I mean, to laugh.
Oh, I laughed. It was funny.
Jesus Christ.
These gorillas are coming out of the lakes now.
They're snorkeling.
Yeah, snorkeling gorilla.
Scuba diving gorillas just rear up out of the lake and grab children.
This is for Harambe.
There's no beer involved in this broadcast whatsoever.
No, we're actually doing this stone cold sober.
Yeah, it's like 1 o'clock.
So anyhow, there's a ton of I'm not going to say a ton, but there's alligators that are in those lakes, and there's nothing really Disney can do. You can't, it's not like they didn't put them there.
Yeah.
But they, at nighttime, these alligators walk from lake to lake, pond to pond. You see them. You see videos of them now.
It makes me wonder. I mean, obviously, they're not going to be hunting alligators near or around Disney, but I wonder if they had to get like gator wranglers to kind of capture them alive and relocate them or something. I mean, what were they doing to keep that population in check?
That I don't know, but I bet you they're certainly going to step that up now. I mean, again, unfortunate. And they said that the child was in the water, but then I heard he wasn't in the water. He was near the water. Like he was just on the beach by the edge, and this alligator came up and grabbed him and then took him.
The last report I heard, he was ankle deep, and the parents were right there. But I mean,
the father had a hold of the kid and was trying to get him off the alligator, and he couldn't get him away. It was and again, no winners in that story.
It's horrible. I mean, but to give the parents a sense of closure, they did fine.
Yeah,
because that would have been awful if they had to autopsy alligators just to fine them.
Okay.
And I guess that I'm assuming that the alligator pulled him in and he drowned. And
right. Well, what they do is, I forget where I heard this. They'll take their prey and they'll tuck it in. They don't eat it right away. They let it tenderize, or they don't eat them right away. So the diver went in, they found the boy, and the parents got a chance to have some closure there. But now, what are you going to do? And if you're at Disney World, are you going to stay near a freshwater lake? I mean, God, I remember when I was there, last time I was there, they have like little boats you can go out and ride around on. And I think there was water skiing and everything on in those lakes.
I think they closed that down. Water World, you mean?
I don't remember.
Water Country,
maybe
River
Country or something like that. But
they closed that down.
maybe it was because of this. I mean, that the amount of people that work in that place is unbelievable. It's its own little city. The infrastructure to run Disney World is amazing.
It is astounding, the vision that they had for that.
How a lot of stuff's underground. You never see them. Never see them tying a trash bag there. Everything's
Right.
pulled down.
Well, you know how that all came about.
No.
They opened Disneyland in California first.
Right.
And Walt Disney was there, and somebody that was in costume for Tomorrowland was walking through Frontierland, and it just ruined the whole effect for Walt Disney. So then when they built Disney World, they actually built it at ground level. They say, it's covered in tunnels underneath and everything. Well, that's not exactly true. Because it's a low water table in Florida, they built the corridor complexes first. Then they buried all that, and then they built the amusement park on top of that.
Man,
because you only go like 10 feet down, you're going to hit water.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, it is amazing what they've and they've been there for, 49 years?
Yeah.
Or however long. We went there in 72, and I got beat up in Disney World by Genghis, and because I wanted to get on the race car ride, but they weren't ready for that yet. And then after I got my beating, look at me. I'm a real son of a bitch. I took my kids to Disney World. That's a true story, But then when I went back for the class trip in 83, I saw lots of kids getting the shit knocked out of them in Disney World. And I realized, I shouldn't feel so bad. It's the American way.
Right, there you go. Now, you never see that happening now.
No, they won't let that happen. You can't, God forbid you discipline your kid.
No way.
And guess what? Every beating I got, I earned it.
Yeah, me too. I deserved them.
Sure. Every once in a while, there was that case of mistaken identity beatings where, Joe took the beating for something I did.
Right.
And vice versa. It all worked out in the wash.
Right. I got him, and then when, my dad would say after that, when he found out I shouldn't have got a beating, that was for what I didn't catch you doing.
Right. Exactly.
So
then you got to cry before I give you something to cry about.
There you go.
Here's a one real good. My father was my hero for this single act one time. We drove up to my grandparents. So it's me and Joe and my father. And we get there and my grandparents aren't home. So we waited about 20 minutes. They don't show up. So now they're going to leave. We're driving down 295 and I'm pissing and bitching because I want to see grandmom and grandpop. Shut up. They're not home. Shut up. We're going 75 miles an hour because that's what the speed limit was back then.
Right.
We hadn't had the Arab oil crisis yet. My father was like Indiana Jones. I'm in the back seat and he's on 295. He whips that belt off around his waist, beats the shit out of me from the front seat and the back. He's flailing me like maintaining course and speed.
Right.
Till this day, I am impressed with that. Big old 65 Mercury Monterey thundering down the highway. They didn't even miss a skid. Yeah. And I never did that again. The burnt hand teaches best.
Right.
See?
So
it was a win-win for Genghis.
Right.
I love that guy.
Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Yeah, happy Father's Day.
All right, well, that's it for this episode of the Brand X Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And if you could, do us a favor. Go on over to iTunes because iTunes reviews to a podcaster is kind of like, unexpected flowers to a woman, kind of like Christmas morning. We love them. So thank you, Jason, for giving us an iTunes review. And we would love to know what you think about the show, good or bad. So please go over there and go over to iTunes if you wouldn't mind and let us know about the show. And when you're over there, subscribe. And you can also connect with us on social media. Let us know your thoughts. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/BrandXPodcast, and on the Twitter at @brand_X_podcast. And if you're listening from your phone, you can find all that stuff out by just tapping the description, and the links will be right there for you. And we're still waiting for Deuce to make a tweet out of his Twitter account. He's got followers. Yeah, you have yet to make a tweet. So we'll see what happens. And come on back.
Pressure is on now.
Come on back next week and we'll find out if Deuce has tweeted. And we'll have some other funny stuff for you.
Thanks a lot and have a great day.